I was all over PA's Most Wanted. My cousin, he said, let's go do this. Score. Went down to West Platte in Prince Albert, kicked open this door, and there's a 5-year-old boy sitting right there. And right in my head, I thought, you said there was going to be no kids here. I was up for like 7 or 8 days, strung out on meth. I had a sawed-off shotgun in my backpack. I took it to my grandpa's house on East Platte. I put it in my mouth and I was going to blow my head off. My grandpa got up, and that stopped me.
This is Hard Knox Talks.
Joey, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Daniel. It's an honor to be here. I've watched your podcasts and had a couple of people I know that have been on them, and it's an honor to be here.
Who did you know who were past guests?
Chantel Lemieux, Justin.
Yeah.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I probably know Mario.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you're a person in recovery, 6.5 years. You're from Atakakoop Cree Nation, currently in La Ronge, sort of grew up in PA. You're a street survivor. You're a keynote speaker. You're a youth mentor, justice committee member, and on top of it all, you're a CrossFit coach.
Yeah.
What a journey. Is there anything that you'd like to mention before we jump into it?
What an honor to be here, and to actually get a first chance to be on a podcast, and especially with you. I've seen Hard Knocks Talk and all the followers and everything you got, and how much you impact people with what you have here. And I'd like to thank Creator God. In my heart, spirituality is a big thing.
Living in La Ronge, living in PA, in Atakakoop, the streets are dangerous.
Oh,
a lot of people think that it's only in big cities or here in Saskatoon, and we know, you and I know, that that's not the truth. So why don't you share your journey with us, man? Like, where did this all get started? Was substance use something that you grew up around?
As a child, up until the age 5 years old, briefly remember my dad coming home drunk, beating up my mom. It got to a point where my mom got tired of it. My dad got overboard. He broke her arm, split her head open, and my mom just couldn't take it no more. And, their paths went on different ways. And, my mom went to drugs. My dad went to alcohol. And I'm grateful that my grandparents are there in Prince Albert that were able to take me under their care. From age 5 to 16, I had a pretty good life. I had numerous auntie and uncles I'd go visit, but I would see drinking. I'd see drugs. But at the end of the day, I'd go home to my grandparents', and it was a safe home.
Seeing substance use and alcoholism and stuff like that, did you think that was normal? Like, was that something that you were looking forward to growing into?
Well, I knew that it wasn't normal, but I was always this curious kid.
Yeah.
I tried it when I was about 12 years old, and I didn't like it. I was always scared of my grandpa, to go home high or drunk. And,
he told you that was bad?
Yeah, well, I played hockey since I was 5 years old. I went all over Western Canada playing hockey. And you know what? That's what I found. That was an escape route to my hurting, was going out -40 weather to go play hockey at East End Rink. I would go, my grandpa would drop me off. I would skate there even if there was no kids out there because it was too cold. I would skate right till my grandpa come pick me up to go home to eat. I'd always want to go back to the rink. And I think that's what I used as a child to take that anger and pain away from my parents leaving me. But, my grandfather put me through hockey. And I always thought I was a black sheep of my family because he was raising my sister. He was raising my Uncle Dean. And in my eyes, I always thought I was the one that was getting picked on because I didn't realize how bad of a kid I was growing up. I had a lot of anger.
It was other people's fault.
It was other people's fault. I played victim for 21 years of my life.
When did your life start to go take a different trajectory? Because it sounds like, being involved in sports, and like you already mentioned, you had a pretty good life up to 16. So what happened at 16?
Well, when I had to move away from home to play hockey in Beardy, Saskatchewan, just 45 minutes down the road from Prince Albert, I was in my first year midget, and I had to move away from my grandparents, and I ended up moving with my Uncle Merle. I idolized him because he was into sports. He was played hockey. He was a young person, you know, and I lived with old people when I was since I was 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to live with my uncle, but I didn't know that he smoked weed and drank.
Mm-hmm.
Before that happened, I would wake up and I'd think about, how am I going to be better at hockey?
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to do today to be the best player on the hockey team? That was my mentality. When I tried that first joint when I was 16 years old and I fell in love with it,
Mm-hmm.
my mentality was different. I woke up thinking, how am I going to get high?
You know, I sat in ceremony with an elder last weekend, and in her prayers, she was talking about how oftentimes in these communities, using substances is the first time any of these kids feel actual love.
Exactly.
You,
And that's,
you align with that?
yes,
Because I remember being young, the first time that I got drunk, that I felt like this is what I'm missing.
exactly.
You know?
Same with me.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that was the same thing. I was playing hockey.
Mm-hmm.
A week later, I did that joint. I started drinking.
Mm-hmm.
I started skipping school.
Mm-hmm.
I started missing practices. Took me a month and a half. The coaches cut me from the team.
So what did life look like then
When I was 16,
when you walked away from hockey?
I didn't even care what hockey was.
Mm-hmm.
All I thought about is getting a job just to feed my addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, for so many years, I never had a truck. I never had a vehicle. I lost my license when I was 18 because I got into an accident with my buddy in the vehicle. Almost killed him.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 22 years old,
Mm-hmm.
I tried cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, like you said, wow, where was this?
Mhm.
Where was this feeling? Not to feel half an hour, 10 minutes time that you need another one. You need another one. And all of a sudden your money's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I lost a lot of jobs. Never could hold a good job. I had a couple good jobs
Mm-hmm.
because of my cocaine addiction. I slaved away just to feed my addiction
Mm-hmm.
until I got to a point where I had to start selling it.
Another guest I had a little while ago, he's living with stage 3 liver cirrhosis, you know, and something that he said that stuck with me was his realization that his life was not his own. His life is rooted in the people around him and the people that care about him. And it took almost dying to understand the pain that he was causing the people around him. Now, was your family, like your grandparents, your uncle, the people that you grew up with, were they in your life throughout your 20s? Like, what were they saying to you? What was the narrative like with your loved ones?
My grandpa when this all happened, like, he had enough of my crap when I got sent back from hockey, and he was hurt, and he would talk to me.
Mm.
He'd, give me shit, because he sobered up when he was 30 years old.
Mm.
He's seen what the addiction was doing to me, but he was an old person that quit cold turkey. That was it. Smoking cold turkey. Didn't do recovery like us.
Mm-hmm.
So he just always say, I don't know why you can't do it. I did it.
Mm. Shame.
He used to ingrain a lot of knowledge trying to tell me, drinking's not good for you, and I think he's seen that I was getting into hard drugs too because of my personality was different.
Mm-hmm.
I was hanging out with people that he never ever knew.
Mm-hmm.
I started driving around with vehicles, and he'd ask me, did you get your driver's license back? And I said, I'd lie to him and say, yes, I did. He would always tell me, I know you're not up to any good. I wish you'd change. I wish you'd go to treatment. I always knew everything.
Mm.
I was one of those guys that I knew everything. I knew I had it under control. A lot of the times, a lot of the part of my years in my 20s, I stayed under my grandpa's roof because I was too much of an addict. I couldn't afford a place because I always had a room there to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I was that's how bad I was into my addiction. My life was so unmanageable.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandpa always gave me a roof. He always gave me a meal to eat when I was hungry. I would steal money off my grandma. I would lie to her. I would steal off her. And she would, she trusted me to a point where she found out I was doing that. And of course, it made my auntie and uncles mad. Bringing people around that my grandparents felt unsafe. When I was selling drugs in Prince Albert too, I didn't realize how sloppy I was getting by, starting to get people to come meet me at his house. And, my grandpa knew everything. He'd say, I hope you're not selling drugs from here. And I would always lie to him. I'd manipulate him. I would butter it up so he would think that it was okay.
Would you ever try to blame him for not trusting you? Get mad at him?
Yeah. Oh, lots. I used to do that. Then that was my anger. My anger would come out at him.
What did that look like?
I swore at him a couple of times. To a man that raised me since I was 5 years old. That's how selfish I was getting. That's how lost I was getting.
It was his fault.
It was his fault. It was always his fault. But he never gave up on me once. He kicked me out a few times, but he'd worry about me when I was in the streets of Prince Albert.
You'd leave when he kicked you out?
Yeah, I would leave. Sometimes I wouldn't. But sometimes he'd threaten to call the cops. And then I would leave. I'd be gone for a week, and then he'd get my auntie or my mom to get a hold of me and tell me to come back home. I would do good for about a week with no one coming over, stay home, try tough it out, try do the program, try sober up. But I was doing it for him, not myself. I had a couple cousins that were higher up in gangs, and, I was bringing them around, and it got to a point where I'd getting them scared. And you know what? No word of a lie. The city police home invaded that house. They raided it once. A gang home invaded it twice when my grandpa was home and I wasn't. Still, that wasn't a rude awakening for me to stop. I still didn't care about their safety. That's how much I was addicted to drugs.
Did he get hurt?
No, I thank Creator that he wasn't hurt. They didn't, they just went straight down. There's about 4 or 5 of them with masks on. I had weapons down there. I had jewelry. I had electronics down there, and that's what they took. They jumped out of the window. One come back up the stairs, and they took off. My auntie, my grandpa, my mom was at work, were there, and my auntie got so scared she phoned the cops right away. And I heard right away that there was about 15 cop cars at your grandpa's place in East Flat. And I was just like, I didn't even care if they were all right. I was just like, who was it? My first reaction was retaliation.
Did you?
We did, yeah. And, now that I think about it, it just such dumb choices I make in life. I got robbed at gunpoint a couple of times myself out on the streets. You had to fend for yourself when you're living that lifestyle. You always had to have a weapon, or you always had to, because people were so unpredictable. My cousin was at my house one time, and we were sitting outside. It was early in the morning. My grandpa was sleeping in the house. We're sitting on the side there by the door, and all of a sudden a truck rolls up. 4 people from a gang pulled up, and I told them, go ahead. I said, take whatever you got. I said, you're not going in my house. I said, my grandpa's in there. They took my watch I had on me and whatever, but I did not let them in the house. I said, my cousin's going to hear about this. And I got a hold of my cousin right away, and he did something about it. People doing that to each other. And I noticed in the communities and in the native communities, it's our people killing each other.
So why'd you end up in prison?
I had a bunch of charges. I got caught with a vehicle, and there was a gun underneath the seat. And that was a tough one too. They just about threw me in the penitentiary for that. And I had to go to court for it. I didn't know that the gun was in there. Because I just took the stolen vehicle to the store to get some beer, and ended up getting pulled over, and I took off from the cops. and I ended up getting caught not far down the road. Prior to my arrest, I was at my lowest in my life.
What did that look like?
I was all over PA's Most Wanted.
Hmm.
Once again, my cousin, he come and seen me, and he said, let's go do this score. Went down to West Platte and Prince Albert, kicked open this door, and there's a 5-year-old boy sitting right there. And right in my head, I thought, you said there was going to be no kids here. And I thank Creator every day I wake up. I thank Creator that nothing happened to that boy. That person agreed with what we had gone there for. We got out of there. I was up for like 7 or 8 days, strung out on meth, wanted by the cops. I had a sawed-off shotgun in my backpack. I took it to my grandpa's house on East Flat. I put it in my mouth and I was going to blow my head off. My grandpa got up. He woke up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, and I could hear him clearly. It was an older house. I could hear everything clearly, and that stopped me. I fell asleep right after that. Finally, woke up, that gun was right there. I took up.
What was going through your head in that moment? Like, what was the source of your pain that drove you to that?
No one would care. I wasn't worthy about being around. I'm going to go to jail for a long time. That little boy's eyes, when we robbed that person. How much lower can I get in my life at 37 years old? I couldn't quit.
You wanted to?
I wanted to.
For a long time?
I just wanted to die. I thought maybe this is the way that I should go out, but doing it in my grandpa's house?
Yeah.
Imagine what he would have went through if he woke up and my brains were splattered in his basement. I thank God every day I wake up, Creator, that I never did that.
Your life is not your own.
My life is not my own. A week later, I took off to Saskatoon here. I got arrested on 8th Street. I was on a spree of stealing vehicles because it was winter time. It was freezing. I needed wheels. I needed to get around city to city from what I was doing.
Crimes of poverty.
Crimes of poverty. Like I was just a loose cannon on the streets. I was actually down in the parkade. I had a way to get into these condos. I would go and rob the condo storages downstairs. I was downstairs there with an innocent person I was with that was into the scene. And we were getting high, drinking. It was New Year's Eve. And I was just about to do my thing, and all of a sudden and that's when the cars come rushing in there, and I tried taking off still, and that cop come and ran at me, and there was a bunch of cop cars there, and this person I was with didn't even know what was going on. I told the cops that too. I said, I just picked this person up. I said, they have nothing to do with this. I said, can you please let him go? I said, I'm serious about it. And they said, they let her go. They let her go walking down the street. And I gave her the drugs. Or I would have been probably doing I probably would have got penitentiary time. Anyways, I got arrested, got thrown in the cells. And in my mind, I was thinking, this is it. I used someone else's name when I got arrested, and I was in the correctional for 1 week under someone else's name. When I went to court after a week, when I was in jail, that person had serious charges too. And when I went and told my lawyer that, I said, hey, can I talk to you? I said, I'm not even this person. I'm Joey Genereaux. It's too late. Court's over. You got to go back to the jail cell. Tell the leader there, team leader, and they'll figure it out. So I went back to jail. I told the team leader at the correctional there, and he just laughed at me, and he said, I can't believe the police let you through all those loops. Later that evening, the city police come and picked me up, took me back to the cells, reprinted me, switched everything around, and I got charged again for impersonation. But that's when I kind of felt a sense of relief that I was in here under my own name. I was thinking about, how am I going to get out? I'm on remand. I got court in a week or two. I didn't get my charges from PA transferred yet.
You're clean in prison?
Yeah, well, I'm dope sick. I was dope sick for 2 weeks. Bad. The first week was bad. I didn't even phone my mom. My mom was going to put a police missing report for me because I did not have the energy to go dial in that number you have to press when you're in jail. I laid in bed. I ate, slept, used the bathroom. After a week, I phoned my mom. My mom was crying. She's like, I'm happy you're in jail.
How'd that make you feel? Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't want to be here.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard. I'm not going to lie.
Were you angry at her for saying that?
Yes. Because my mom was a survivor of going in and out of jail all her life. But my mom knew.
Mm-hmm.
She knew that's where I needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
My mom actually helped me get out of jail once. And she said, I'll never do it again.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
She regrets it?
She regrets it.
Yeah. Do you understand why?
Yes, now I do.
Yeah.
They threw me 18 months and I took it right away.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big sense of relief. And right after that, I got sentenced that day. I got back to the unit about an hour later, I got told you're getting transferred to Regina Correctional. So there's a few of us that got transferred to Regina. And when I got there that evening, right away I told that person when I went and did her check-in when you go to jail is I want to be put on a working range. And right away the next morning I was working at 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, jail's fun. No, but it was because I got off my unit. I went to the kitchen. We were delivering carts to the units. And, and every day I'd get out of onto a cart and I'd see the outside because in Prince Albert Correctional, you only seen it for an hour a day.
So was this the first time in your life that you actually started to feel meaning?
Exactly.
Is that accurate?
Yes.
Never felt that before.
Never felt that.
Mm.
And that's when I knew there was spirituality, but I didn't know how powerful it was.
Mm.
My spiritual awakening was that dream I had about my grandfather and my deceased Kukum and my auntie and my uncle were in that dream. I talked to an elder after that, and that elder told me that they're telling you something.
Mm.
That's a powerful dream. Are you going to continue what they're telling you? I said, why did I wake up crying and happy? That's a sign your grandpa, your grandma that's gone, they're telling you something. This is your time to straighten your life out.
Mm.
I started seeing an elder. I started going to chapel. I started reading the Bible. I started looking at life differently. I started having a better attitude about life, about the people in jail that I was with.
Mm-hmm.
I become this nice person. I didn't care if people said, making fun of me and saying, look at, he's going to chapel, ha 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 ha. I didn't care about that. That's where I got sober, and that's where my mind started getting sober. And that's where I surrendered. December 31st, 2018 was the last time that I used drugs.
All right, let's take a break. I'm going to talk recovery. Okay. Since 2008, 1,500 workers have stood up for themselves and won their union with SEIU West. Workers came together and won better conditions for health and safety, better pay, respect on the job. It's your turn to win. Canada deserves better. Workers deserve better. You deserve better. Visit seiuwest.ca, link in the show notes, and click on contact so we can help you and your coworkers win your union. Warrior Mentality, empowering individuals to conquer their inner battles through resilience, self-discovery, and personal growth. Embrace your journey and transform struggles into strength with Warrior Mentality. To learn more, find their link in the show notes. All right, EHN Canada is Canada's leading provider of mental health and addiction services, providing evidence-based, medically assisted care with 1-year wraparound services for those suffering from substance use disorder. In Saskatchewan, their care is 100% supported by Saskatchewan Health. To learn more, find their link in the show notes below. Wellness News, Choice for Healthy Living, is a local resource that works to connect people to health and wellness-related products, services, and expert advice from industry professionals, locally allowing us to connect and engage. Check out wellnessnews.ca or skWellnessHub.ca today to learn more. If you'd like to see our content uncensored, we are now offering channel memberships. There is a lot of things we can't show you without getting restricted, so if you want the full conversation, or to check out our merch, or if you want to show us some love and buy us a coffee, all of those links are in the show notes below. Would you say getting arrested saved your life?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Like, was it the shock of it, or was it the opportunity to gain a little bit of clarity to get over the dope sickness and then to hear some good things from an elder?
That, what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
It was some time to get over the dope sickness.
Mm-hmm.
I started to think more about life.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of hurt still come to me, a lot of shame. Still blaming,
Mm-hmm.
but
So a lot of anger.
a lot of anger. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um.
Still blaming grandpa.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't fully surrendered yet
Mm-hmm.
because I was still trying to find a way out.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't budging.
Mm-hmm.
They were sick of me being out there on the streets causing violence and crime.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my grandpa was really sick in the hospital. I tried to phone him when I got to Regina.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was in the hospital. She had overdosed.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if I was going to have a home to come out to. I was going to phone my grandpa and tell him I got transferred. Couldn't get a hold of him. He was in ICU.
Mm-hmm.
It just hit me like a ton of bricks. All that guilt, that shame. Because the first thing I thought of is I'm never going to be able to tell him that I'm sorry
Mm-hmm.
for everything I did to him. Same with my mother. I didn't think I'd see her again. And you're only allowed one phone call a day. So it was, I had no choice. I begged God to come into my life, and he did. It gave me a sense of relief where it comforted my mind, my soul. And my grandpa pulled out of it. My mom pulled out of it. Even them, they told me that after that happened, I could tell by your voice that you were going to change your life around.
Mm-hmm.
Because I surrendered. I told myself that I'm doing this for me now, not for anybody else,
Mm-hmm.
for myself. Yeah.
Were you scared to get out?
Oh, yeah. I was scared to go back to that lifestyle.
Okay.
I'll tell you this about Regina Correctional. I got in a DATSU program there. It's a treatment.
Mm-hmm.
I got set up to stay in Regina because I didn't want to come back to PA.
So you did treatment in prison?
In prison. Yes. It was called the
Voluntary?
Yeah. Like you had to have been a behaved inmate to get a privilege to go to treatment. Because you get out of your cell and you get it's a 9 to 3 or 4 o'clock program every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I learned a lot about myself, and it hurt, but it was healing.
Mm-hmm.
Life was going so good. I had the Oxford Sober Living House lined up. I had a job lined up there because my release was supposed to be in Regina.
Mm-hmm.
2 days left in my DATSU program, I got called to the admin office in Regina Correctional, and I had more charges in Prince Albert.
Oh, man.
But I was so strong mentally. I was like, you know what? If I get more time, that's God's plan. Wait, when I got to Prince Albert, they asked me, are you compat? Like, do you have any beef? And I said, no. I said, I wasn't a gang member. I said, I hung around with them, but I put me on any range. I got put on a range where there was gangs, and, I signed up right away to see an elder, to go to chapel, and, time come around, I got my chance.
Mm-hmm.
I'd get criticized, bugged a little bit by the inmates, but you know what? Like I said, it didn't bother me. And, I started getting respected for that in jail. People started to see that I was going to change my life around. But I stuck to myself, when I was in there. And
did you get more time?
It was a fraud charge. I went to court and I represented myself because I was in a really healthy state of mind. I went up to the judge and I told him, you know what? I said, this is all the paperwork I have. I just finished a DATSU program in Regina Correctional. I said, that's who I was. I really believe I'm rehabilitated. I said, I'm willing to change my life around. The judge just said, you know what? I can see you're doing good for yourself. I see that you're changing your life around. I'm just going to run your charges concurrent with you have the same release date, but they didn't add on any more time. Thank you. I thought he's working in so many ways.
So you got released into PA then?
Yeah, in Prince Albert in
Tell
October.
me about that.
Oh, I got 1 week release date because I tried applying. I had a job and everything. I
did who picked you up?
My uncle.
Your uncle picked you up?
Yeah, and the first thing that crossed my mind was meth. And I got into my uncle's car, and he drove me straight down Central to my probation officer. And once I talked to my probation officer, I was safe. What a scary feeling that was. And I believe that's why a lot of people that go to jail, they work on themselves in jail, they get out, and they go back to the same lifestyle. Hadn't I have had a ride to pick me up, I don't know if I would have maybe went back to that lifestyle, if I would have walked away from there.
Did you stay in PA?
Yeah, I stayed in Prince Albert. That Friday, I went to a NA meeting. That Saturday, I went to another NA meeting.
What did you hear in those meetings that made you stay? What did you feel?
Welcomed. Love. Related to everybody. I wasn't alone. That Saturday, I went to another meeting. Sunday, I went to church. I connected with the church. And then with the church, I was busy lots. I had to do that for 2 years to keep myself away from that old lifestyle because I was living right in Prince Albert.
Did the lifestyle try to find you?
Yeah. Some moments were hard. Other moments weren't.
That old anger come back?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? I was so spiritually fit. I was strong to, like I said in jail, I just tell people, you know, I wouldn't say nothing. I wouldn't let their criticism or, you know, and I let social media know right away that I was going to church. I was going to meetings. You know, I was a changed person. But I still got the odd one that would. My mom lives in that house where my grandpa. Even to this day, people who stop by there and ask where I am. And my mom got scared one time, and you know that's still my past creeping up on my family.
Yeah. Did you take the suggestions of the program? Like, did you do the steps? Were there?
Oh yeah, I did the steps twice.
Any moments within working those suggestions that the light really turned on for you?
What was step 4 again?
Searching and fearless moral inventory.
That's forgiving people?
No, that's step 9 is
yeah,
where people
that's
were
the
you
one.
Yeah.
That's the one that I had a hard time to do with myself and my mom and dad.
Was there still anger?
Oh, there was.
I struggle with that too. I did struggle with that, forgiving people that also did me wrong.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
But my kukum supposedly helped me with that. Explained to me how important it is to forgive other people that did you wrong. Because you're going to stay stuck if you don't. You're going to stay stuck in that hatred or that, you know what I mean? When I forgave my mom and dad, it just lifted lots off my shoulders.
Were you able to forgive them in person?
Yes, individually too. And they both cried. My dad was, like I told you, I was working as I'm working as a mentor in my own reserve, and I see my dad once in a while at the band office, and he's sitting there, and and it just hurts my heart. And you know, there's nothing I can do about it, but pray for him. And set an example, and you know, my grandma told me before she passed away that my dad's the oldest of the family. My dad's seen it the worst, and she regrets. She doesn't regret. She was hard on herself for a lot of years on how my dad was raised and what he's seen due to their addiction. Because they were both, my grandparents were both residential school survivors. That opened up a lot for me to forgive my dad, to see why my dad was like that, because I wondered why my dad was like that. Why did he leave me? Why did he come embarrass me in the hockey rinks how many times when I was playing hockey? How come he hit my mom?
You thought it was because he was a bad person.
Now that I see my dad, I just wish he can get help. My mom too. But I don't have to live like that. That's why I stay sober and I keep fighting every day. There's not one day that goes by I don't pray for them. I used to be really mean to my mom when I got out of jail. judged her, criticized her. Who am I to do that, though? That's my mother.
Yeah.
My mom never gave up on me once.
I mentioned earlier that I sat in ceremony this past weekend,
Mm-hmm.
and the medicine that I took in that ceremony, it can make you feel sick, and it shows you things. And one of the things it showed me, when I would feel sick, the only thing that would take that sickness away was praying for the ones that I loved.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only thing that would make me feel well. And it showed me the only hope that I have to be well in life is to pray for others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can
That's what my kukam used to tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Pray for people, my boy.
Mm-hmm.
Don't criticize them. Before I put my feet on the ground, I think there's not one day that I miss it. I thank God for another day.
Mm-hmm.
Just be with me and help me.
Yeah.
I search for joy, peace, happiness. Sometimes it doesn't work though. Sometimes my anger just turns me into the person I used to be. But I have the tools now.
I keep going back to this, but on the weekend, somebody that was sitting with us, they started praying, and very intense moment, because this person was in a lot of pain and sad and crying and praying for everything that I already have. I have all of the things. And
Did that humble you?
it humbled me, and I prayed for him.
Oh man.
I prayed for him.
That's...
I pray. And when I pray, for people, I don't pray for, I hope they get what they need. I pray that they become prepared for what they need. Hope that they can grow into what they need.
Yeah.
Because and I know, people like us, people like me, I can speak for myself. It's the journey that's the gift. If we all just got what we wanted without struggle, without perseverance, what gift would that be?
Exactly.
So that's what I've learned how to pray is I hope that, like for you, I hope that you grow into this beautiful career that's coming up around you. I hope that you find what you need to be that person that you're turning into.
Mm-hmm.
So can you align with that?
I really liked what you just said about that person.
Mm-hmm.
He was praying for everything I already have.
Mm-hmm.
As I pray that I get that pride out of my head, that arrogance.
Mm-hmm.
When I pray for people, I make sure no one's around. I make sure it's quiet and I'm by myself. I make sure I could feel it in my heart that I'm meaning it. And right now, in my prayers are my mom and dad. I pray for my relationship each and every day because I'm still a sick person.
Mm-hmm.
I still got my flaws. I have a very beautiful, trusting girlfriend best relationship I've ever had in my life, even with my parents or my grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
And I always got to remember that she's not perfect. I'm not perfect.
Thank God she's not perfect.
No, I know.
That's I was thinking that same thing last night about my wife. I'm like, she did something and she pissed me off, and then I found gratitude. Like, oh, thank God she's not perfect. I could never live up to that standard.
Yeah, it's no, she's turning me into a very healthy person. And I'm 5 years more clean and sober than her. We help each other. You know, we've both got into recovery for ourselves, and I believe that that's why our relationship's working.
Yeah. So, talk to me about what you're doing now. Like you got into public speaking. You're a youth mentor. You're a justice committee member. Like how did all of these things manifest?
Well, with public speaking, I was just recently released from jail. And my community heard that I was out of jail, and they heard that I was sober.
Mm-hmm.
So the health clinic asked me if I wanted to come share my story there. And I did. This is right away, right when I was probably about 2 or 3 months after I was released from jail. I just started talking from my heart, and words say The neighboring reserve asked. Word say, another reserve asked. Word say, another reserve asked. And I just started, I didn't think about how it was going to be one of my full-time things.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't realize that how much healing it was doing for myself, too. It opened up more doors for myself. And then I ended up taking on that being a mentor in my own reserve. I was scared of that, feared of it. Seeing first time ever going to be actually working with youth.
Mm-hmm.
It ended up being something that holds a piece in my heart. Building that relationship with these young men.
Mm-hmm. You know Chris Morasti? Men of the North?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
know Chris. Yeah.
He's a good guy up there in L'Orange doing
Yeah.
good
Oh,
things.
yeah. He's doing really good things. Yeah. I know.
They're opening up a new chapter too.
Yeah.
Cumberland House?
Cumberland House. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I know
awesome.
Chris quite well.
Something we didn't touch on now. We talked about you forgiving other people. What about people forgiving you? Tell me a little bit about that. Like, have you gone to people that you've harmed and asked for forgiveness? Have you
Yes.
intentionally changed behavior for that reason to make amends? Like, tell us a little bit about what that looks like.
Well, I was in a relationship for 14 years and I treated her like crap.
Mm.
Had 5 miscarriages with her. That was one thing that I wanted to get off my back when I got out of jail, and I wanted to ask her if she'd ever forgive me. And I had a chance to ask her. And she said she was happy for me that I sobered up. She said, yes, I forgive you. And my grandpa was another one. When I first got out of jail, when I went to home, he had a home for me again.
Mm.
I sat there in the living room and I talked to him. And I looked at him in the eyes and I said, Grandpa, will you forgive me for everything I did to you? And he, of course, my boy. I'm so happy for you, he said. You look so good. When I got to spend a whole year with my grandpa before he passed away, he got COVID and he died.
Sorry.
He was 82 years old. I had to shower him. I had to take his diapers off. It got to that point, but you know what? I thought, I'll do anything for this man. I was just so happy that he got to see me for a whole year before he passed away. He was so happy that at 21 years I was addicted. And I didn't realize how much he loved me. I used to think that he didn't love me. That's how the addiction was. He just didn't like what I was doing. I seen how much he really loved me when I sobered up. How much he cared for me. And I think of that every day. How I was playing victim when I was on drugs. How I was poor me, poor me. I never took a look at myself in the mirror and seeing what I did to them. It was always about me. What was done to me. They could have easily threw me out on the streets and I would have had nowhere to go. They did a lot of times though.
Who's they?
My dad, my grandpa, and my mom stayed. My mom looked after my grandpa. My mom lives in that house now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You make amends with your parents?
Yeah.
Because you mentioned
Yeah.
them forgiving you. But,
Yes. My
you
mom,
forgiving them, I mean. Sorry.
Yes. Yeah. My mom forgave me.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad too. Me and my dad got into a couple encounters when we were both drinking. I hit my dad one time because he said some really, really mean words to me. And that I felt so bad after that. And I went and asked my dad, 2 days later, that if he forgive me for that. And he did. But that's what the addiction does, right? Like you do something without really knowing and caring, especially drinking. But yeah, forgiveness was, before I sobered up, I didn't realize how powerful forgiveness and forgiving and asking forgiveness is on your healing path.
And then changing the behavior.
And changing the behavior.
That's the big... You can say sorry. We said sorry lots when we were using...
Exactly.
Yeah.
My grandpa used to tell me, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. Sick of your stories.
Yeah. My mom said that too.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it. It's,
Mm-hmm.
I'll never do it again. I used to tell myself that too when I was on coke and booze.
The foxhole prayers.
Oh, the come down off coke and booze was holy man.
Mm-hmm.
Sick, sorry, sad. I'll never do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Broke, you know, telling everybody, I'm done. I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
Week later, you go to work, you make money. Oh, I'll just get a half a gram.
Yeah.
And
Take
all
it
of a
easy
sudden,
tonight.
boom,
Yeah.
you're done again. And it's just like, it was such a vicious cycle that I did for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
I get emotional. And I'm a man and I'm not scared to cry. This is what we're doing today is healing.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to know each other.
Say someone is listening right now and they'd like to bring you to their community. Where can people find you?
My email address is at joeykyles@gmail.com. That's
Mhm.
my email address. And my website is joeygenereaux.com. And yeah, just find me on Facebook, Joey KG. Or else look at me on TikTok, Joe Jens, I think my name is. But yeah, that's where to look at me.
Yeah.
And I thank you for that, Daniel.
Mm.
I'm grateful that I got to meet you at Big River. We need more speakers like us.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much addiction out there.
Yeah.
And there's so many communities that want to hear different speakers, different, and that's what we need is more people
Mm-hmm.
to start sharing their stories.
I will put your links in the show notes. If you want to reach out to Joey, just have a look in the show notes after the show. You'll find all the contact info you need there. Joey, thank you so much for joining me
Yes.
today. It's been an honor and a pleasure walking with you through your journey. I wish you much success and much healing in the future. And I guess that's it for now.
Thank you, Daniel.
Take good care, my friend. Hold up. If this conversation gave you something to think about or something to talk about, help us keep it going. Give us a like, subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Drop a comment. We read them all. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen, leave us a rating and a review. It helps more people find the show. Before you go, check out another episode. It boosts the algorithm and helps us reach more people who need to hear these stories. That's it for now. We'll be back soon with another dose of lived experience and Hard Knocks Talks.
Say, this is Hard Knocks Talks.